friends, and welcome back to Cinnamon Sanctuary. Today we are making a 3-cheese mac and cheese with a nice crunchy topping. So without further ado, let's get cooking. In terms of cheeses for this dish, I decided to opt for some mild cheddar cheese, some mozzarella that has been grated, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and some cubed fresh buffalo mozzarella for this extra stringy factor. So we have 2 types of mozzarella for this mac and cheese dish. And in terms of the bechamel sauce, we'll be using a bit of flour, some butter, about 500 milliliters of milk, some nutmeg for flavor, as well as some white pepper. And as usual, all of the ingredients will be listed in the description box. So we're going to boil the pasta to begin with. So I have some hot water to which I've added some salt, and I'm just using this spiral shaped pasta for my mac and cheese dish, but it's up to you what type of pasta you'd like to use. And I'm just cooking the pasta according to the packet instructions, but I also want to ensure that there's a little bit of bite to the pasta because this is going to go into the oven to cook for about 40 to 45 minutes. So you don't want this to be overly cooked at this point. Once your pasta is cooked, you can set it aside for later. It's now time to get started on the bechamel or cheese sauce. So to begin, I dropped the butter into the pan, and this is working on low to medium heat at this point, and you just want to ensure that your butter melts accordingly. Once the butter is melted, you can start dropping your flour in, and I like to do this incrementally so that we don't end up with a lot of lumps. So I just add the flour in bit by bit until the obtention of a nice paste. And if you haven't already, please leave a like for this video. And I also have to say thank you so much for the feedback I received on my last video. I received very positive feedback, so I'm really grateful for that. Thank you so much. So please hit the like button if you enjoyed watching this. Thank you. Once your butter and flour mix, also referred to as a roux, has been formed, you can now start dropping in your milk. And again, I'm working in stages because we don't want to end up with a very lumpy sauce. So I'm adding the milk in incrementally until I've used it all up, and we are left with this nice milky texture with the consistency of double cream, I would say. And as the sauce cooks, it will start thickening up, and when it's slightly thick, you can now start adding your seasoning. So I went in with some white pepper, some nutmeg, and I also decided at the last minute to add some cayenne pepper for extra flavor. So I'm mixing this all up, and as you can see, the sauce is thickening, and when it started to reach the consistency of double cream, you want to now turn the fire off and get ready to add in your cheeses. So I went in with a handful of cheddar cheese, and I'm also going to be adding a handful of the grated mozzarella, as well as a few cubes of the fresh buffalo mozzarella for the extra stringy factor, as I mentioned earlier. And we are going to leave the cheeses to the side, so the remaining cheeses to the side, which we are going to be adding to the pasta dish towards just before it goes into the oven. So I'm just turning this all over and making sure that this is all nicely combined, and as you can see, it's even thicker now that the cheese has been added, and this is the consistency that you'll be looking out for. Next, we are going to make our crispy topping. So I'm just using some butter, and I'll also be using some breadcrumbs. So you can either use your own breadcrumbs if you have some stale bread and make your own. I just used the shop bought one because I didn't have any stale bread. And once your butter is melted, you can add in a few tablespoons of the breadcrumbs. I'll put in the exact amount in the description box, so no worries about this. And you want to pretty much toast them on a low heat until it reaches this color here. And once it reaches that color, make sure that you keep it to the side for later. It burns very easily, so do keep an eye out for this. Okay, so now every component is ready and the construction can begin. So I just dropped my pasta into a dish, and I'm going to be adding the cheese sauce and then combine. Once your pasta and cheese sauce are nicely combined, you can now go ahead and top it with the remaining cheeses. So to begin, I went in with the buffalo mozzarella cubes, which I just spread all over the surface, and then I made sure that I buried them underneath the pasta to make sure that we end up with this, pizza effect, like when you cut it off and you have nice strings. That will be because you would have buried all of your mozzarella cubes. And then I follow this up with the remaining grated cheddar, which will then be followed up with the Parmesan cheese. And then last but not least, we can top it up with the grated mozzarella cheese. Last step, we can now sprinkle our toasted breadcrumbs on top of the mac and cheese. And I started using a spoon doing this, to look all elegant, but nah, I had to change my mind. I haven't got time for this. So I just went and used my fingers to sprinkle it all over the surface. Now this can go into an oven that has been preheated at 200 degrees Celsius for about 40 to 45 minutes to be met with this beauty right here. In my case, this has cooked for about 40 minutes, but each oven varies greatly, so it might take a little bit longer or not as long in your case. So I had to let this rest for about 10 minutes before digging in. If you don't do this, you will end up with a disintegrated mac and cheese on your spatula, so you want to ensure that you let it cool down for a bit. And this is your end result. It's nice and crispy on top. The cheese is doing its thing, and this was absolutely delicious. It's not for the faint-hearted, so if you're dieting, this is not for you, but it is a perfect treat, so why not? Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment and a like, please. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you very soon on my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.